Hi guys, it's Matt. Welcome to another video. I am a compulsive gambler in recovery, and I like to think of myself as your mind and movement mentor, here to help you. So today's video is inspired by some thoughts that I was having earlier, which was, I feel like I've got a lot going on at the moment. I feel like there's lots of things I want to do. I've set myself some physical fitness goals. There's lots I want to do to expand my coaching business. And I thought to myself, how did I ever have time to gamble? I feel like there's not enough hours in the day to do what I want to do. And the days just feel like hours and the months just shoot by. And then I thought, well, I always found time because I was being completely and utterly run by the addiction. And it's kind of crazy to think about because in some ways I was no less busy then, if that's the right grammar. But it was just a question of kind of priority shifting, where the addiction would always kind of shunt itself to the forefront of any kind of focus that I had. And it's probably quite hard to relate to if you've never been addicted to anything. But it sounds extreme, but I can only really describe it as like a satanic type of energy that just leads to like a parasite on the brain that just eats away at you, which as a visual is pretty graphic, but as I think about it, I think it's absolutely accurate. It's been a while since I've gambled now, but I remember the last day very clearly, which was just being in an absolute frenzy. It was a Friday. I filmed this today on a Friday. And it come to the end of the week where I'd just been gambling all week. And I'd gone into a betting shop earlier in the day, I think to gamble on some virtual dog racing. I was kind of just that desperate with the cash that I had to just try to keep the train of lunacy going. And then I ended up betting on a Turkish football match, which took place early evening, like 5 or 6 o'clock UK time. And I remember kind of following it on my phone in my lap as I was kind of driving home from work. Still to this day, I cannot name you one player that played for either side. I can't remember what the result was, and I can't remember the teams, but I had no investment into that, and I do know my sport. It was just whatever was available, and that was the real kind of had enough moment on that Friday evening. But I remember on the Saturday morning just not wanting to get out of bed. Saturdays is often my favourite day. I sometimes don't work. I take a treat day or a cheat day from how I normally eat dietary wise throughout the week. So there's loads to look forward to. But I remember I just did not want to get out of bed. And I remember we went to Costa Coffee with my girlfriend Layla, and it was just like the real world wasn't going to cut it for me. I went and had a hot chocolate and an almond croissant in there, and it was just like it could have been like rubber, could have been like a rubber tire that I was eating, because the stimulation was just, whether it's the dopamine in the brain, I mean, I've researched this quite extensively, but you know, the normal world was not going to work my pleasure center of the brain anywhere near what I'd completely corrupted over the last week, month, years, on and off in sporadic intervals. And, you know, that is it. That is the dark force at play, where, you know, on that Friday before, when I was gambling the day before, it was all stress. There was no fun, there was no enjoyment at that point. It was a mile away from any excitement, you know, that I got from the first bet I ever placed, which was kind of thrilling. It was intense. It was, you know, just, was I going to win? Wasn't I going to win? There was a real sort of buzz and a real kind of like, you know, wrongly, but a positive state associated with it. All that had long far diminished, and I was just kind of doing it almost on an autopilot that I was having zero fun doing, but at the same time simultaneously zero control over. And you know, that's the thing. I think back to it now and I think, you know, how did I ever have the time? How did I ever have the want to do that? And that can almost kind of be a bit dangerous, because where I am now, I feel like I'm so far removed from that. It feels like a preposterous idea to do it. But at the time, that force was kind of driving me to do it at whatever interval I kind of possibly could, until, you know, I plucked up some courage / a level of negative leverage, I suppose, in the body, and just negative emotions to the point where it was just absolutely just enough. And I truly believe that is the last gambling action that I'll ever do, because I am in full awareness that I am thoroughly, completely and utterly compulsive, and there's no part of recreational gambling or testing the water or doing anything in moderation that I actually think I could do without disastrous consequences. So that's maybe a bit of a snapshot into it for those who were curious by it. If you are someone that suffers with a gambling addiction, I guess that probably sounds as quite relatable to you. And, you know, I think for me, I do really think of it as like a dark, dense energy, almost like literally a satanic force holding you against your own free will of doing what you truly want to do, what your soul on the core fundamental level actually wants to do. And when you are in the throes of addiction, that's essentially a manifestation of just how you've been corrupted. And if only you could just turn that off and on like a light switch, you know, the world would probably be an easier place, because there are lots of people who struggle with various forms of addiction out there. So I can only speak on gambling because that is my compulsion, but I like to try and cover the nature of all addictions in this channel, because I feel like substances, drink, drugs, alcohol, you know, whatever it is, they all probably are very similar in terms of the need that they pretend and masquerade to fulfill. So that's it for today. Just wanted to share that, and want to thank everyone that's been watching the previous videos and for all the comments and the likes and shares. Really appreciate you supporting the channel. I like to try and kind of make the content that would be thought-provoking to me years ago when I was really struggling, and just hope that I can kind of pay forward some of what I've learned to other people. So if you know of anyone that you feel would benefit from this kind of thing, please share the channel with them. Really, really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next video.